This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory. I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the topwater roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa. Hi, I'm Kelly Hurt. In this Land Doctors episode, we're going to show you how the discovery of oil changed the lives and prospects of people in a small rural community, and how a city sprang up from the ground in a matter of days and then disappeared again within 2 years. We're also going to show you the efforts that have been taken to restore the land to its original beauty. We're going to be visiting with local resident and author Judy Goodspeed as we speak with her about how all this came to pass. We'll also show the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board in action as they restore one of the local well sites. So let's travel back in time with Judy and see what an Oklahoma oil boom actually looked like.
Papoose Drilling Company leased the land from Joe Simmons, who was an Indian man that owned Section 4 in Hughes County. And August 25th, 1923, they hit a gusher.
So it literally blew oil up in the air.
Well, Maddie Dillman lived in about 1.5 miles south of the Simmons farm, and they heard it.
Oh, really?
She said she was scrubbing clothes under an oak tree, and they heard it. And her brother, Plaz, was out roaming around the countryside, and he went to investigate and came home and told them what it was. So their dad loaded them up in the wagon, and they went to see this site. And she said there was oil running everywhere. And she said from that day on, it seemed like the smell of oily dirt was in the air all the time. They could drill wells every 4 acres, and then they switched and it was every 10 acres. People that lived in the area, of course, were excited that they could make money, so many of them began working in the oil field. Tom Slick Oil Company was 1 mile east of where the first well came in. So he was here, and he brought with him some of his workers, and one of those was Les Jordan and his family. There wasn't any place to live.
Right.
So the Jordan family lived in a tent, and another family lived in a piano box until they could get houses brought in or built for them.
They lived in a piano
box, yes.
A box that
a piano had been in, yes.
A family lived in
Yes.
a piano box.
Yes. So
this was a shanty town that was springing up overnight.
But almost immediately they started bringing in shotgun houses,
Yeah.
you know, and
How do you live in a piano box?
I don't know. Very crowded, I think.
From that point, then, the drilling began in earnest.
Day and night. The crews worked round the clock.
And that's amazing to think, going from just this pastoral scene of little small farms to overnight, then you've got all these wells popping up everywhere. So they started establishing their little company camps where they would bring in the houses for their employees that are out drilling and servicing these wells.
Now, I don't think so for the crews.
No, the crews just, I guess they slept in tents.
They had a boarding house.
So this boomtown of Papoose City or Slick City, it sprang up almost immediately then just to service the drillers.
Yeah.
So the rooming house, the boarding house, all those things came about very quickly to take care of them.
Yeah. They didn't have time to go run to Wetumpka to get supplies. You know, going to Wetumpka took half a day then. And so the business came to them,
right?
In other words. And that's what happened most typically in all boom towns.
What do you think the population of the town was at its max?
I have no clue, but it was pretty big because they had a pharmacy, they had a movie theater, they had a dance hall, a boarding house, a rooming house, a barber shop, a beauty shop, and a house of ill repute, I think. Daddy didn't call it that, but that's what it was. Yes, ladies of the night. PJ said, one of his neighbors was talking about, she was the madam. PJ said, I thought they entertained the men playing cards or something. It took me years to figure out what was going on.
PJ wasn't very bright, was he?
No. So anyway, it was quite an active place, and I have no clue.
So 2 years, it went from farms to a little town that had all of that stuff. So it sounds like probably 1,000 people or so.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to me, though. We're talking about an area 2 miles by 2 miles large that produced over 1 billion, and I'm using the term gallons in case people aren't familiar with barrels.
Yeah.
But 1 billion gallons of oil in a short period of time produced a little city with a pharmacy and a movie theater and all this boarding house and a house of ill repute and so forth and so on. Off of that small of an area, just out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. From that created a plant, a processing plant that was one of the largest producers of gasoline in the United States at a time when we desperately needed fuel.
Yep.
That all happened right here, and if you drove through here today,
never know it.
You'd never know it.
The only way you might know it is if you saw the smokestacks. In 1925, after the boarding house, everything was gone in 1925. So the town lasted from 1923 to 1925. And
2 years.
2 years. You did not play in the creeks. The kids did not play in the creeks because they were full of salt water and oil from the runoff.
Right.
Because at that time there were no regulations, so the salt water would just let go.
With the technology they had, the tools they had at the time, I mean, we look at it today and it's startling to think about dumping that much salt water in a creek, but really how else would they have dealt with it?
Well, at that time there wasn't any other way.
Right.
And of course, you know, water seeks the lowest resistance, so any low areas became saltwater creeks. And over all the years, they just continued to wash out, and of course, the kids loved it because it was a good place to play after the oil was gone. The big concrete foundations that they had for the wells, the derricks to sit on, they just left those too. And our place, I've forgotten how many there were on this place, 160 acres. And so they were a hazard for farming. Pipe and cables and concrete blocks and washed out creeks, and a lot of old wells weren't capped properly. And I remember when I was about 7, I was riding across the place to go find Dad, and there's oil running down out through the pasture. So I thought we were rich, of course. So I went flying to find Daddy and told him he didn't have to work. You know, we had it made, and so Corporation Commission came out, found out who the company was that was responsible for that, and they came back and capped it. And then when the OERB came out, they fixed it, you know, reclaimed that land. I'm amazed about what all went on then, and how nice it is to have that land reclaimed. And
the work that the OERB is doing.
Yes, they're doing so much good for the country. For oil field damages, it's going to take years, even with their work.
Right.
Because I know they started on my place in, what, 2000, 2001. They still come back every year. And if more work needs to be done, they do it.
Does that cost you anything?
No, not a penny, not a penny.
Now let's go south and a little bit west to a site that OERB is currently cleaning up.
Well, what we have here is an OERB site. It's an abandoned salt scar, historic abandoned salt scar, and it's been here for years and years and decades and decades. And this site was turned in by the Corporation Commission. That's how all the OERB sites are submitted. They're submitted through the Corporation Commission, and then they turn it over to the OERB, and once the OERB gets it, then we come out and we do a site assessment, you know, meet the landowner, find out what the issues are, and then generate a restoration plan based on what we see. We started this project, the phase 1, the site assessment, probably over a year ago, and then between the site assessment, the sampling, and gathering the data and getting it all bid out, it's probably been over a year. And what we've got, the contractor working behind me, we've got they're putting soil amendments down as recommended by Oklahoma State University Agronomy Department. And what we're putting down is gypsum and organic material. Organic material includes straw and hay, and we will be putting manure down. We're applying these amendments and we're disking them into the top 6 inches. And then after we get them disc in, we'll do the grading, disking, and seeding and fertilizing. The gypsum is to enhance removing the salts from the root zone. That gypsum combines with the salts, and then the salts get leached out of the soil, out away from the root zone, and then you can get some permanent vegetation established again. The reason we incorporate gypsum and soil amendments is to enhance the recovery of the soils. It speeds up the process and makes it go a lot smoother. The bulldozer is assisting in grading and incorporating the soil amendments and moving dirt around to get it to grade, because we want it all one level area so water, it won't pond or pool water. Water won't stand on it. He's got rippers, and it rips that clay and topsoil, and it gets to where the soil is more permeable, and you get some permeability where water can filtrate down through the soil, and that assists in the leaching of the chlorides down. Hopefully we'll have some grass growing on it next summer. We'll have to monitor it and test it, and hopefully we'll get some rains, and that will greatly assist in the leaching of salts. As we get some rains percolating through the top layer of soil, we should have grass growing next year. Well, this is the transit that the contractors use, and they use it. We've got a benchmark that we use that shoots a certain elevation, and then at the elevation at the top of the dam. So we know we've got a good level graded top of the dam. And then we have a different benchmark level for the spillway, and then we have one for the drop inlet. When you've got structures that are anywhere from 200 to 700 foot long, you can't eyeball it.
Yeah, well, definitely understand that.
Yeah.
So now you've got both a regular outflow plus an emergency spillway that you're shooting in with this?
Yeah, we've got here, it's not finished yet, it's during construction, but we've got a concreted drop inlet.
Yeah.
This is the pipe, that's vertical pipe, and that's gonna be our primary spillway. And then above that, we'll have an emergency earthen spillway. That way, when you have a large volume of water come in,
yeah,
and it, for whatever reason, overruns the primary spillway, you've got an outlet through the emergency spillway. That way, you won't have water going over the top of the dam.
And you won't lose the dam there.
Right. You won't lose this. You won't lose the structure.
Well, let's go look at your primary spillway then.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought this was just going to be a big pipe going straight down, but it actually just doesn't go that far before it turns back.
It looks like it's about 5 to 8 foot deep, and then we've got a 30-inch pipe that goes through the dam, and it comes out at the bottom.
Okay.
And it dumps the water down there.
All right. So that's got a little room at the bottom where it can fill up with silt and everything without clogging the pipe.
Right.
So that's your sump pit there.
Yeah,
A 30-inch pipe will probably carry a lot of water. Why is it in this hump like this?
Well, we built this little island around it because we're going to have like I said, this is under construction. We're going to have a concrete slab poured around it.
Oh, okay.
Because if you don't, water will come in and hit this pipe and it will start circulating and it can eat a hole out. So if you've got a concrete hooded inlet around it, it protects the integrity of the pipe.
So it keeps it from just going around the outside of the pipe and
You bet.
and piercing
We
through
don't
the
want it
dam.
to run around or anything. We want it to go in the pipe and then down the drawdown pipe.
Will there be a grate or anything over the top of this?
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of safety barriers. We'll have an 1.5-inch galvanized pipe that we use as kind of a fence around it.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a trash guard that comes up over it to keep livestock or anything out of it from getting in it.
So with it being above the water line like that, then there's no possibility of a child or somebody getting sucked up against it with water pressure.
Yeah, we're all about safety. We don't want it, or livestock or anybody out here getting injured. So that will have that trash guard so you can't get in it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let's walk down here and look a little bit at the base of your excavation. It looks to me like you've hit a good clay base.
Yeah, we've got good clay in here. It's compacted, and it should hold a lot of water.
Now, was it just naturally here, naturally compacted?
Yeah.
What do you do when you don't hit clay when you're digging these?
Well, you can, in Oklahoma, it's hard to find an area that doesn't have clay, but that does happen. You can bring clay somewhere from on the ranch and bring it in for the core trench.
Right.
The core trench is what's at the very, very bottom. It's just, it keeps water from going underneath the structure. We put a core trench in and make sure we've got clay there.
Yeah. Once
you've got clay there, then it's not going to leak.
So when you take your fill and you go and fill over the top of the core of the dam where you put the compacted clay, do you try to hit any kind of specific slopes with that?
Yeah, we try to keep a 3-to-1 front slope and a 4-to-1 back slope. The 3-to-1 front slope is the gentle slope, and a 4-to-1 back slope is even more gentle.
Right.
And it's friendly to the landowners and ranchers and farmers that way they can brush hog and whatever they need to get on with equipment. Also, a gentle slope like that will help with erosion, because if you've got a gentle slope, it's easier to get vegetation on it. If the more vegetation you got, then the less erosion you'll have.
Okay. Now, once you all leave, what does the landowner have to do to maintain and keep these ponds in good shape?
Well, the landowners really don't have to do anything. What we'll do is, if we finish a structure, a pond, we finish them year-round.
Right.
And if we finish them in the spring, when it's peak time to get permanent vegetation growing, we'll bring Bermuda grass spriggers out, and we'll sprig with Bermuda grass. Now, this pond here looks like we're going to finish it in the fall.
Right.
Well, it's not a good time of the year to have permanent vegetation, so we'll plant winter wheat, winter rye as a temporary cover to prevent erosion, and then we'll come back. The OERB will come back in the spring, and then we will bring contractors out and we will sprig it then with Bermuda grass for the permanent vegetation.
Gotcha. Now, my guess is that a lot of people that wind up with these ponds are using them, they're stocking them, using them for fishing. Is it okay for them to come in and put in structure, put in brush piles and things like that?
You bet.
While it's easy right now, you can place it wherever you want it.
Yeah, they can put structures of any kind. They can put docks. This is private land. This is their place. The OERB come in and build them this pond, but it is still their place.
They can do whatever they want.
You betcha.
That's awesome. You know what I've noticed a lot is when you go out on ranches, there will be ponds that will maintain their water level through a lot of dry conditions. And people say, well, it's a spring-fed pond. You walk around, there's no visible spring, but actually it's just coming up through the base of it, and that's what's keeping it going probably.
This could be spring-fed, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's got little water bugs swimming around in it now.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
How large, once this is filled up, how large of a pond or lake do you think this will be?
Well, this one here looks like the surface area is going to be, you know, 2 to 3 acres, something like that when it's full. And then, you know, when it rains, it, you know, will get fuller and then fills up to the pipe. You know, we could possibly have another acre or so.
Okay. So on this place, this is one of 3.
Correct.
So there are 3 ponds, 3 structures like this that you all have built.
Yeah, so we could have as much as 3, 6, 9, maybe 10 acres of water.
10 acres?
I mean, not completely brimming full. So yeah, landowners are getting pretty good benefit out of this.
That's awesome. They should let us come back and go fishing. In our conversation with Greg Cook, he mentioned the steps that OERB took to ensure safe slopes on the structures that they build. However, on your own property, you may encounter natural slopes that are unsafe. As you can see in this shot, the slope is becoming too steep for me to safely navigate it. So instead of driving along the slope, I simply turn and I drive over the slope. This allows me to safely drive over the slope and mow it without risk of tipping over. Whether you're working on a large project like the OERB, or you're simply trying to mow your pasture like I am, you always need to be aware of slopes and be safe. Our society definitely relies upon the extraction of fossil fuels. In this case, the extraction of oil from a small community in northern Hughes and southern Okfuskee County changed the lives of its residents forever. In addition to helping the residents with good jobs and chances for advancement that they had never had before, it also resulted in some damage to the land. And I think this week's episode is a good example of how we can go back and make those things right and heal the earth. So we hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, and we also hope you'll come back again and join us next week. And also, hang around after the credits for a little land yap.
I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear a scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the top water roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa.
Today we'll be speaking with Judy Goodspeed. The area that the book concerns is where Judy grew up and spent her early years. I'm going to just stop. But first we're going to need the box. Blech. Had you had air conditioning, it'd have been perfect. Do I need to start again? And how that over the years that said blah blah. We're going to show you how one oil well. We're going to show you how an oil well changed the lives and prospects of rural Oklahomans. What was I supposed to say there? You still don't like it, do you? We certainly know that I just lost my train of thought.
Do you know what a collar pecker is?
No, what is a collar pecker?
Okay. The only way they had to put those pipes together then was screw them in together.
Yeah.
The collar pecker pecked the rhythm on the pipe to keep them in sync, screwing that pipe in.
So he just sat there and...
He sat there and tapped on the pipe and kept them going like they were supposed to go.
That's sort of a unique set of skills for a job. I'm not sure where you take that once you've hit senior collar pecker status.
Well, I don't know either. There were 35,000 barrel tanks across the road from where PJ lived. And they came in and cut those up with torches. And his dad came and said, come with me, and they went over there, and there's all these rivets lying around on the ground. So he started picking them up. He'd fill 2 5-gallon buckets a week, take those rivets to Ed Hicks' junkyard, sell them, take the money to the bank. That was his college fund.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory.